What challenges do food manufacturers face in sourcing ingredients? Can we order small pack sizes and quantities? How to be innovative and limit the R&D costs at the same time? Do we have competitive prices for ingredients? Are we covering demand, costs, and resolving supply issues? Listen to our food ingredients experts discuss the biggest questions facing buying food ingredients today. Welcome to Want to Taste Talks Food Ingredients.
Welcome to the first episode of Want to Taste Talks Food Ingredients. I am Jasper Schouten, CEO of Want to Taste, and today I will talk with my guests about food ingredients and creating your own signature. My guests for today are Jos Vast of the Bakery Academy, Naylor of IMAG Organics, Egbert Sonneveld of Blonk Quality Ingredients, Henk Bijl of Trigona Dairy Trade, and Charif Geara of Nexxus Foods. Coming up with signature products is essential in the marketing of your bakery business. Right now, consumers are looking for food with substance. They want products that tell a story, that create an experience. For bakers, this gives a unique opportunity to innovate with food ingredients. It's a way to set your brand apart, create your own signature with a bread or a cake or, well, almost anything. Great to have you in the podcast. Could you start with a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Jos Vast. I'm from Bakery Academy. I started Bakery Academy in 2009 when I saw there was a huge amount of knowledge leaving the industry, and I wanted to gain more insight on that experience and combine that with some scientific backgrounds. And hence the name Bakery Academy. The academy part is for the connection with the science, and the bakery part is basically with the connection with our hands in the dough. So over the past years, I've gathered a few other consultants to work together with me to service clients in their challenges on product development, process improvement, and some training and education.
Okay, so in that position and in that perspective, do you actually see that life cycle of new innovations is getting shorter?
Well, not per se in the sense of that the total life cycle of an innovation from when it hits the market until it leaves the market is shorter. More the actual time we get to develop a product and bring it to the market is getting shorter.
Okay, so you mean the go-to-market period?
Yeah. So there is actually much more pressure on industry to bring products quicker to market, with the risk, of course, that when the product is not that good, it will also leave quicker the market. So potentially the life cycle, the lifespan of a new product could be shorter indeed.
Okay. Hey, and what are typical challenges when people start to innovate that you encounter in your daily work?
Yeah, so it depends. So if you have more of a startup type of enterprise, you're looking more towards upcycled ingredients, sustainability, potentially vegan or gluten-free or keto-friendly, more in that type of direction. If it's more a sustainable industry, you're looking much more towards shelf life optimization. So either it is longer or the same shelf life with lesser ingredients, or less E numbers in there. So more cleaning up the label. Probably it's not completely cleaned up, but it's slightly more friendly. And we see a huge request at the moment towards crackers. So there's much more going on in cracker, potentially because it's slightly more tasteful and having less calories than a normal biscuit or cookie would have.
Okay, and those are actually more the overarching themes that you see, or because in terms of innovation, you're saying you're working with startups, but you're also working with more remunerated businesses. if you could balance that, how much of that is startups, how much of that is existing business?
Well, I would say the existing industry amongst our clients at this moment is somewhere around 70-80%. And of course, it depends on the type of project we have at hand. If it's more focused on improvement, or it's more focused on development.
Okay. Hey, and can you give us an example of one of your recent exciting new innovations?
Oh, yeah. So I would say there are a few that might be very interesting. So we're actually working now with a startup who is trying to bring sustainable gluten-free products to the market as some kind of bread roll, flatbread type of product, which should still have about 3 to 7 days shelf life out of the refrigerator, which is quite significant because the water activity in most gluten-free products are very high, and especially if you don't want to use any preservatives or other additives to it, it can be a quite challenging product to still have then also a reasonable tasting product. So that's one, and another example could be that we're actually working on trying to replace ammonium bicarbonate in many bakery products. On one hand, because it's focusing on reducing acrylamide formation in especially biscuits and cookies, which probably will be over the next year a quite heavy topic, as well as reducing nitrogen emissions, which is especially in the Netherlands, but also outside the Netherlands, is heavily debated due to the environment.
Sounds pretty exciting projects. And so, how does that that work in when you develop a product like that and your search for ingredients? You must be on top of all the ingredients that are available.
Yeah, I wouldn't say all the ingredients, but of course we try to keep up as much as possible, and we try to find also the common ground. So we're also looking at what would be the technical opportunity for this product compared to another product, and how can we apply that if it's, for example, used now in the meat industry. How could we apply that in baking, or if it's used in fillings for a fruit filling, for example, how can we apply that into a cake or a cream? So it's looking at functionality across different processes and products.
If there's one advice you could give the people, what would that be?
Focus on functionality you're aiming for, and not adding just ingredients because people say you should add them. Just first define what functionality I need in my product, and then search for what could fulfill that need. And perhaps you can find some unthought of benefits.
It sounds like you have a pretty nice and exciting job, Jos.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like you're operating on the borderline of innovation and capabilities of ingredients and processes.
Yeah.
If I can reflect on what we on the Want to Taste platform see is we see actually that there is increasing interest in getting samples and testing a lot. So we see that the basket size of testing ingredients is increasing over the time. We also see, and I think that is pretty similar as you saw in the overarching themes, is the health and sustainable products. So clean label is something that comes back a lot of time in requests from our customers as well. So I think in a sense it's great to hear your opinion and to get your insights, and we look forward to working together even more in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Peter. Great to have you in the podcast today. Shall we start with an introduction? Can you tell a bit about yourself and about IMAG Organics to know more?
Sure. So thanks first and foremost, Jasper, for the opportunity to talk today. I'm looking forward to talking a bit about bakery, a little bit about myself. I've been in the ingredients industry for 30 plus years. I started out as a brewer, actually a production brewer, then left that to join the ingredients world, selling into the food and beverage industry. I ended up for 15 years working at Wild Flavors. It was acquired by ADM in 2013, 2012. I ran the UK business for them. I ran the Middle East business for them, and I ran the India business for them over the course of those years. I was also a product manager for sweetening systems and branded myself as Sweet Pete. So I'm actually reasonably good at sugar reduction in general. A little bit about IMAG. I went self-employed in 2015. And IMAG is one of my clients that I represent them for the European business. We have a team of 3 or 4 people. We import through Antwerp, and we're ready to sell into the European market with our own direct sales, but also with Want to Taste.
Sounds great. It's an interesting product. So how do you feel? So we're discussing also specifically the bakery industry, but also how people develop their winning protocol and what are important aspects in that. Can you tell us a bit your opinion, and then not talking about your latest experience, but we hope to tap into your entire history as well, if we may.
Okay, so I think whenever you're putting a new product together, there are 3 key parameters. People may say more, but I think 3. There's taste, texture, and appearance. And appearance in that includes the packaging, but also what the product looks like. And the most important for repeat business is taste. It is the one thing that brings people back. If it's a lifestyle purchase or a treat, it has to taste good as well, and the taste and texture are pretty similar. And we've got some products from IMAG Organics that can help with both of those. The appearance is what makes people buy something the first time. So the prototype needs to look good. The packaging needs to be right, and the proposition needs to be right. But it's the taste and the texture that brings them back. And the IMAG agave inulin and the IMAG agave syrup can both be used well in the baking sector, which we'll talk about shortly.
Yeah. So is that if you look at the appearance, I think your observations are spot on. I think if you crack those 3, you have a great chance of having a successful product, right? But if I look at for example, the agave syrups, you have them in 5 different colors. Is that also why you decided to develop those?
It's quite an interesting question, Jasper, because we do offer 5 colors. Typically, we sell 2, and most of them most of the volume is actually the extra light because it gives additional flexibility in the end application, especially in beverage. You don't want to be adding color to the beverage, and agave syrup is typically used in as a retail product, like an alternative to honey, for at home use, but in a B2B environment. It's largely used in beverages where you don't want to bring a color or a taste impact. The darker the color, the more the taste. It has a Maillard sort of reaction that goes on where you've got the carbohydrate and the protein that naturally creates color. That's what we do when we cook onions. It goes down dark brown and gives that sort of flavor, caramelized flavor. So the darker the color of the agave, the more the caramelly-like notes. It has some application in bakery and some as such on the retail shelf when it's purchased as a squeezy bottle. For at-home use, people quite like the dark one. But the extra light is the one that gives most flexibility.
Yeah, so that's interesting because I was looking at more from a color perspective, and you were looking more from a functionality perspective, right? Saying in functionality, the lighter has more end application purpose than the darker one, and also in taste it impacts.
But I think the darker one in bakery brings some benefits. But on the whole, I think if I could split the volumes, it'd be 90% we sold would be extra light or light, and about 10% would be of the darker variant.
Okay. Okay, and an important point as well. We saw in earlier conversations that health is an important factor. So reduction of calories. That's an important factor. Now that's pretty difficult sometimes in the bakery industry because if you want to replace sugar, it's a bulking agent. How do you vision that? What is your opinion on that?
Thank you, Jasper. Yeah, sugar reduction is key. We're all taking more calories than we actually expend with more sedentary lifestyles. So we need to look at our sugar intake and carbohydrate intake. The agave syrup is well suited to baking because it's 1.3. Some people say 1.4 times sweeter than sucrose, your typical beet sugar or cane sugar that is available. That means you can add less to get the similar sweetness delivery. And with it being a very similar calories per gram compared to sugar, the agave syrup is a mechanism by which you can reduce calories in your final product. However, if you reduce the sugar by 30%, say, you need to bulk it out again with something. And that's where the agave inulin comes in. And the agave inulin brings not just bulking, it brings a real functionality to a baked good. It has a fiber claim if you're adding enough to have a claim of additional fiber, or includes fiber. It is a prebiotic fiber. This is a prebiotic characteristic fiber. It also brings taste, texture in some baked products, a spongier cake, and in biscuits, a crisper bite. So we are really quite interested in using a combination of the syrup and the inulin in bakery formulations. We've done some application work ourselves in the kitchens over in Mexico, where we have some recipes we can sort of share with your customers that can really give them some guidance on how to implement the ingredients into their own end-use market product.
So it seems that the products of IMAG can contribute actually to the 3 points that you were mentioning. So it can contribute to taste, it can contribute to texture if you want to reduce the sugar content, and to appearance by choosing the right color for the right reason. It can help in appearance as well.
It can. There's one other thing that the inulin can do. It cannot replace all the fat, but it can be used to take some of the fat down, if that is also of a significant interest to the brand owner. I think it should be, because consumers are looking at their total calories, not just sugar.
And I never figured that, and if you talk about fat reduction, can you put a percentage on that, or is it in specific applications that you see that?
I think we can get about 20 to 30% fat reduction using inulin. I would not like to say whether that's sugar and fat at the same time, or one is just fat. So I think the way that anything is that we can recommend some recipes, but always the application people at the brand owner, they would be the ones responsible for what's going onto the shelf. So they'd have to do their own kitchen work and trials and what have you. Hence the prototyping you talk about at the beginning, and we would encourage that to occur, because that's their responsibility. They're the best people who know their product formulation, and we would always try and support them technically to overcome any hurdles that they might find.
I am sure that this conversation will spark some interest in your products. I'm fascinated by it, and seeing the multiple ways that the product can help product developers, but can also help improve healthy products. is just tremendous. If I picture that back to what we see in on the Want to Taste platform, and when we interact with our customers, we see that if you look at launching new products specifically, where we started off with, we see that they typically start pitching 2 items in the market, and then like an A/B testing, see which one is the most successful one. Obviously, that requires the flexibility in volume, and I believe that you guys are very much capable in supporting these companies in their smaller quantity up to the larger volume, obviously.
And I think just to summarize quickly, IMAG is available in Europe. We import through Antwerp. We have smaller packs available for trial purposes. So or even best to come to Want to Taste and get the samples from there.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll be working on growing that. Peter, thank you very much for your time. It's been a great pleasure talking with you, and I'm sure we'll be in frequent contact.
Jasper, thanks for the opportunity once again, and we'll be in touch. And if there are customers that you have that need some technical support, then we'll be there for them.
Hi, Egbert. Great to have you in the talk show today. I would like to ask you to just give us a brief introduction, who you are and what your company does.
My name is Egbert Sonneveld. I live in Spain, but I'm Dutch. I'm here with my wife, my Spanish wife, and we have a company called Blonk Quality Ingredients, where one of the main products we produce is teff. And that's what I do already now for more than 10 years. Before that, I used to work already 30 years in the ingredients business, in basically animal proteins. But we started a new life here in Spain.
And why did you decide to work with teff?
I was working with a dairy protein, whey proteins, and we started producing dietary products for sports and dietary nutrition, and they were looking for a blend of proteins with a gluten-free product ingredient with very good characteristics. So about 15 years ago, I came across teff, and it looked like a very good ingredient because it's well known by the top sports people. It's a very interesting grain for endurance sports people.
Yeah, so actually the grain is gluten-free. It's good for nutritional value. Is it also good for nature?
It's very good for nature. That's something we discovered here in Spain. That growing teff is good for everybody, for the farmer. It's a very interesting crop. It's good for the consumer, as we said, and it's good for nature because it has a very low need of water and of chemical products like fertilizers. So teff is really a good choice for everybody.
So I assume that you are part of a lot of product introductions. People are interested to use your ingredients. Are there any complexities when a company makes a decision to use your product into a new launch? Can you tell us a little bit about the complexity around that aspect in particular?
Well, first of all, we need the people to know about teff because it's relatively unknown by the developers, especially in the bakery industry. Where we have no problem to explain teff is to the original users of teff that are the Ethiopian and Eritrean communities worldwide. They make a kind of pancake with it, and then they have a kind of fermentation process that is very important for them. So with those customers, we have no problems in asking what their needs are and what type of product they want to develop, because it's only one product that's called Geara. If we go to the Western world, then we see that step by step, people are trying to introduce teff in a recipe. Obviously, because it's a gluten-free ingredient, most of our customers are interested in the gluten-free aspect of teff, and then they discover the high nutritional values, etc. What also we see more and more is that it's simply used as a mainstream ingredient in breads and etc. Because it's always a very interesting ingredient for its nutritional values. So,
but is it readily available?
No, it's not. It's definitely not plenty available. There are only a few companies or farmers in the world producing it. So we have to, for large volume customers, and for us, large volume customers is starting with truckloads, so 24 tons. And then we have to plan far ahead those quantities. So we have to make our plans with our farmers here in Spain a year ahead. And that's the only way you can guarantee yourself the volumes of teff and with the quality that you need.
Okay, so if I would be a developer and I would love to use your teff ingredient, then I need to be sure to give to have enough time before I can launch it, because it's not sure if I want to launch it today whether you will be able to supply it.
If you're a large volume customer, that's the case, yes. Obviously, if we're talking pallet loads up to truckloads, then we always have enough teff in stock to launch the product, to do a first launch. But once we see that the product is successful, then we really recommend also the purchasing departments to come on board and say, look, this is what we will need next year. And we try to make some kind of contract, long-term contract. Otherwise, at this moment, for instance, there is not enough teff. So there are too many people now running out of teff, and they see, and you can see that it's not a commodity. You can't simply call someone and say, give me 5 or 10 truckloads of teff.
Yeah. Do you foresee actually that the volume of this particular grain type will grow in the coming years?
I'm convinced. Since since we work with One to Taste, I've always said with you guys, I want to double the volume we are doing now, and we can even do more than that. So we have plenty of capacity, and the story of teff is so good. So it can't be that the people will not discover it. So we are in a good position at the moment with this fantastic new ingredient.
And echoing also a little bit the conversation I had with Jos Vos from the Bakery Academy, was also working on different projects, and what you can see is that indeed in the bakery industry, health. But also gluten-free are important aspects, and in that sense, your ingredient is fitting perfect in that story, right? Do you see specific periods of the year where more products are launched? Do you see some logic there, or is it just the whole year through you're working on projects?
Well, in general, we all know that in the bakery business, summer is very weak. And in general, the demand is low, and I've never seen products launched in summer. This time of the year is much more interesting to launch new products. So that's one. We also see some very big bakeries, industrial bakeries, that are not necessarily interested in gluten-free bread. but they want to include now TEF in one of their multi-cereal breads, and there I don't see a seasonality. These are the usual blue chip food bakery companies that we know that operate worldwide. But to be honest, they always work with the 1 or 2% of the recipe is TEF. So it's very, very low, but still then we are talking truckloads.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, Egbert, it's really interesting to hear your points of what you experience in your company. I'm very excited about TEF as an ingredient, and I think it does have a very bright future. If I look what we see in Want to Taste on specific go to market from the decision to go to market and to actually launching, it is 122 days on average. If it takes longer, the chances are lower that it will end up in a new product launch. I think your experience is longer.
It's much longer because as I said, since people don't know it, the normal pattern is that we send the samples and then they start playing with this. They do some quick and dirty testing on flavor and on smell and functionality. And then you see people coming back and saying, "Hey, can we do a puff pastry with it? Can we do pasta with it? Can we do whatever?" So we still have to trigger the fantasy of the developers, and with that we do a great job with you guys. I mean, you have some very good people on board there that help us with that. But the frustrating part here is that it's taking far longer than 4 months, as I said.
Yeah. So if I would wrap it up, it is important to first of all think about what your ingredients you want to use, and if it's an ingredient like TEF, you need to make sure that you start in time and that you give proper prognosis on what you intend to start using in order to secure. Certainly, if you take truckloads, if it's smaller amounts, you can probably manage for a launch. But then when things pick up, you need to well in time inform your supplier, and in this case you, to assure the quantity that you need.
But Jasper, a last point maybe that is interesting to mention in the case of product development is that very often developers need specific characteristics of the product. So be it microbiological, be it the fineness of the powder, being a certain color, being it whatever. And there, of course, we have since we are a relatively small but very flexible company and very creative, we can do tailor-made ingredients for these customers. And the good thing is that if we agree on a certain number of tons of TEF, we keep that grain in our stock the whole year long, and then whenever they need the product with their characteristics, then we are relatively quick in supplying those volumes and with those characteristics, and we are very consistent with the quality and the characteristics of that. I think that's a very important point to mention, especially talking to bakeries that don't like surprises in their recipes, etc.
Their supply chain, yeah. Well, that's a good addition, Egbert. I think that's also important for people to understand your flexibility in working the ingredients in different kind of specs.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to close it. Thank you very much, Egbert, and we'll be in touch, and for sure we'll be doing more business together.
Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, Henk. Great to have you in our podcast today, and thanks for joining. Maybe the first question is, can you tell a little bit about yourself and about Trigona Dairy Trade, so that we get to know you?
Yep. Hi, Jasper. Thanks for having us here, because is a nice platform to present ourselves. I'm proud to be invited. Trigona is from old days a commodity trader in Holland, as there are many traders in food products in the Netherlands. Maybe you know the VOC from the past. In the 1500s, 1600s, we were conquerors of the East and the West, and I think we were the inventors of the trading. And Trigona is there an exceptional example of. Founded in 2009, made out two youngsters starting in their late 30s, Trigona, coming from other trading companies, and thought, well, what we can do here, we can do better for ourselves. And that's why in 2009 they started with nothing. And today we are growth towards a turnover of around 100 million euro. And we are trading around 50,000 tons of ingredients. We do that with 15 people, 6 traders like me, and 6, 7 in the back office who are controlling the daily business. So that's a good combination. So the back office is very competitive and doing the job very good. From the start, we were doing in commodities, but you see a trend in the last 4 or 5 years that we convert into plant-based as well. So we are supplying some dairy and also some plant-based alternatives to the market. And then the applications is feed, food, and baby food. That's in the short Trigona, and very flexible and also fast. Sometimes you will not recognize that in our meeting today, that because that was delayed. But normally in business we are quite fast. So we inform our customers fast if it's possible or not. Myself I'm a youngster of 59, also born in dairy, let's say, and also the last 4 or 5 years converted to plant-based. And I think my business inside Trigona is now partly, let's say, 50% dairy and 50% vegan.
Okay, and the ultimate question is always: can plant-based be as competitive as regular dairy?
Normally, from the resources, I would say yes, but due to the fact that vegan is mentioned as a specialty, and there's no benchmark yet, prices could variate a little bit from dairy. Sometimes it's quite expensive, but in vegan they're also they're starting to be a commodity like oat. Oat is really a commodity because everybody has oat milk and oat flakes, but the special things like chickpea or whatever, that could be still a little bit challenging. And also in vegan, I have to say that it's more a processed food. If you buy butter, use butter as a bakery, then you know, okay, that's milk, and the leftover of milk is cream. We put that in our recipes, and then we know what we have. If they produce a vegan variant and they want to have a vegan butter, what is doable at the moment, then you see in the ingredient list maybe 15, 16 different parts in the ingredients. And that's complicated. And that's also making it a little bit more in price.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, I wanna tap a little bit into the bakery. Obviously, dairy is part of a lot of bakery. Mm-hmm. And when people want to bring a new product in the market, do you think that the pricing is a key factor in success, or how do you see that, or how does Trigona look at that?
I don't see the bakery sector as an innovator in vegan and plant-based. That's more a follower. Retail in Holland is the innovator in plant-based. If you see the Dutch retailers, specialty with a with a blue and a yellow color. These guys are really pushing in the market. And even in their private label, they do more advanced things than the brand owners in the world. So private label, vegan in the Dutch retail, that is the trend. And then I think when the volume of these products are rising, then also the bakery and the restaurant market in Holland will follow. I think when you visit particularly Van der Valk hotel restaurant in Holland, the first page is loaded with vegan, but mainly vegan croquette. And you can buy a croquette with a ragout, but you can also buy it with all types of vegan ingredients. Maybe also a vegan portobello burger. These things come in mainstream, I think, in the sector. But if you want to have special products, I think the supermarket is the place to be. And when they started up 3-4 years and growing in vegan, they bought whatever they were capable to have their hands on. And nowadays you see that some of these products are becoming a commodity, and then the battle for the cost price is starting. And then several suppliers are kicked out or have to reduce their margin inside the process, because in the early days there was maybe 1 or 2 producers who could supply the Dutch retail with vegan products. But nowadays in every country there are several producers of vegan and meat and fish replacers, dairy replacers. So now it's really now the supermarkets are again on the right side on the table. They can demand a better price.
How does Trigona position itself in terms, and then not only on the vegan side but also on the dairy side? How do you guys position yourself?
Yeah, Trigona is a flat-based organization, so we're very quick. That also we work back to back. That means that we buy from the market and we sell. These days it is not so wise, let's say, to have a big stock of butter, because butter was 2 months ago it was 8,000 euro the kilo, and it's now 5,000 euro the kilo. So if you have big stocks, then that's not very wise to do. That also implicates that we can, in a decline market, we can be a little bit cheaper than the colleagues, due to the fact that we calculate always today. So if Want to Taste is ordering 2 or 3 pallets with butter, then we don't say that this was the prices in November. No, but that maybe we will focus on the price of January, and that gives immediately in this market an advantage. 3 years ago it was the other side, of course. Then the guys with the big stocks had the advantage, but mainly this advantage stays in the wallet of the supplier. We are very flat, so what we buy is what we sell, and of course we have our margins in between. But we also give every week effective thoughts, so that our customers can see what the developments is in raw prices, raw ingredients prices. That is open information. That is on our website, and the people at the bakeries can subscribe, and then every week they will see, hey, the butter is this, the butter is that, and the skim milk is that. That's all by commodities. In vegan, there is no market today.
You're really on top of the market of today, right? So
that's our business model.
Yeah, exactly. So is that if you would launch a new product, how would you suggest people deal with, for example, in the bakery, butter is quite important. They use quite a lot of butter. What would you advise them in that respect?
If you are depending on the market, on this today, I would say follow the market. Don't buy too much. But if you really want to have a position, and you know that in the coming year you need 100 tons of butter, then of course you have to arrange something in a matter of volume and price. That is also
Yeah.
doable. We have also, I always says that sometimes it's an advantage when you have not own a factory. Because
Yeah.
I'm a trader and I can buy from 30 butter factories in Europe. When you have a butter factory, then you can only sell your own butter. So there's always an
Yeah.
advantage and a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. Hey, Henk, that makes me come a little bit to the conclusion. If I look at pricing with our customers, obviously it plays an important role, and I think also the transparency that we try to bring in pricing is something both on the supplier side, as you know, as on the customer side. We try to bring that as open as possible, and I think that is also something that links back to the purpose of Want to Taste, which is enabling the small and medium-sized companies to be as effective and competitive as the larger ones. And it's great to have you guys on the platform and also supporting this vision. And actually, it combines actually very well with also how you look at your business. So
Yeah,
thank you very much
yeah,
for
you're welcome,
today.
Jasper.
Hi, Charif. It's great to see you. It's great that you want to participate on this podcast of Want to Taste. Obviously, it's important for the listener to know who you are and to know a little bit more about your company. Would you be so kind to tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Jasper, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I'm so excited. It is my first podcast, so I'm gonna
Cool.
give it my I'm gonna try to give it my best. So Nexxus Foods, we started back in 2004. The main focus of the company is really to provide a functional solution for the food industry. And one of the key elements is that we have an entire scientific team that is working for our customers to listen to their needs and to make sure that we're able to provide them products that are all clean label. A lot of the companies right now that we're seeing, they're running away from all the chemicals, all the products that could be uh, deemed unnatural. So there are some ingredients that are natural, um, but they cannot use them because the public is not informed about it. So our main focus is here to work with clean label, allergen-free solutions, and even gluten-free solutions. So this is what we do quite a lot, and this is what makes us quite unique on the market right now as we're moving forward.
Sounds super cool. It also fits in earlier conversations I had. You're really tipping all the right points because it's a lot in innovation about health. It's a lot about clean label, nutritious food. So I think you're spot on with your company. But
Thank you.
at the same time, I think that it's not easy to run a company like yours, right? Because you have a lot of different ingredients. And I think that the complexity in that sense is very high. How do you and your company, how do you actually manage and what are the major issues that you see in supply chain?
Well, there are several big issues in supply chain. So what we're looking at, we have one of the things that we're seeing right now is availability of goods. The second thing that we're seeing is inflexibility of suppliers around, and thirdly is timely response time to everything that is going around. So what we're seeing, for example, customers as a starting point, what they want a product right now. They want to see it. Their production is running such in a such tight schedule. Their warehouses are full, so they cannot even actually put, you're shipping them loads and loads of material, but they want it because their production is running weekly or daily, so they need it on time. Now, what has Nexus been doing for that? In the prior pandemic, we've been always keeping stock. 2 months to 3 months. It's a good rotation of material that is coming in. We're keeping it in stock, etc., for our customers. But when the pandemic hit, we had to do something about it. We realized there were going to be much bigger challenges. One of the things that we did and we were very successful with is that we reached out first to our clients, letting them know, listen, we know what's going on with overseas, especially the Chinese, China as a whole, shutting down their ports, etc. It's going to put us in a very big problem right now. So we talked to them. We told them, listen, what we would suggest is bring in another 3 4 months of extra stock to keep it to keep it in store for you, and like this will make sure that there's no problems in providing you materials. Most of our customers agreed with us, and actually some of them even helped us with cash flow. Because you're bringing in quite a lot of material, we needed to bring it in. Chinese suppliers need cash. So a lot of the times, you know what, we need to upfront everything. So what we did is that we got this in, we got the money, we brought in the material. We took a big risk in certain cases, but mostly it was already accounted for. So we were able to bring it in, warehouse it for our customers, and do the deliveries as they expected. One of the most proud things that I felt for Nexus and our team in the past 2 years, Jasper, we were able to deliver at 95.6% of all goods were on time. The times that we were not on time, it is because customers pushed us a little bit because they didn't want it. They had some issues with it, and they pushed us further a week or two. So we track our progress, and this is for us is extremely important. So having that number so high where we see all our suppliers, all our competitors struggling with material, they don't have they making their customers wait for weeks and weeks. Honestly, I didn't see that was acceptable. The one word I have to say that was forbidden at Nexus is the word COVID. Never ever use the word COVID to a customer to tell them, I'm so sorry, we could not deliver this to you because of COVID. That was forbidden. Nobody in the company ever used it. And we say, you know what? We just adapt.
Wow.
Make sure you get it. We know that sometimes instead of taking 2 months, it's taking 4 months. Well, be it. That's life. This is what we're living in. Let's make it happen. Bring it in 4 months in advance. Make sure we have the stock, and we moved on.
So how do you make your organization so flexible? Is it just a culture, or is it also that you have a lot of expertise in this field?
Right. Well, you had it on, Jasper. It is the culture. Culture of the company is extremely strong. Everybody within the company in the past, I have to say, we were we were able to transform Nexus in the past 6 years or so into a culture that is believes in its core values. So we first of all, what we did is that we found our core values within the company, and these core values that we live in are collaboration, innovation, caring, and respect. These core values are extremely important for us, and so everybody in the company must have these core values. Otherwise, they cannot be a part of Nexus Foods. So whenever it comes down to making sure that the team is working together, they're collaborating together like 100%, respecting each other's cultures, respecting each other's religions, etc. So everybody, they live under one umbrella and in harmony. Third, being innovative. We mentioned something earlier that Nexus is about providing solutions, providing we're always constantly solving problems for our customers internally and externally. So for that reason, it is people are extremely important to be innovative in their way of thinking. Always think outside the box, no matter what. Whether you're the administrative assistant, whether you're in accounting, whether you are in sales, you're in logistics, figure it out. Let's make it happen. I'm and so and the caring, it is caring for the customer, making sure that you respond to them in a timely manner, make sure that we're there for them, and most importantly, caring for the company. So all of that made helps us actually be so close to the customer, yet listening to them and following their needs actually.
So I can imagine that if you have that kind of intimacy internally and externally, you can also head on address your problems and solve supply chain issues. Just for a little reference, how many SKUs do you keep?
Well, it is. We have about between 45 to 50 SKUs that we keep constantly. Definitely, we are we keep what we try to do, Jasper, is that we try to focus on what works best for our customers and not to bring in 300 or 400 SKUs just to please them. Our main focus is the service of for our customers, the quality of the material, and making sure that it has a very good rotation. So the material is always fresh, is always new. So for us, this is really very important.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart approach, and that might be also a key here, right? Is develop based on the functionality that you need to deliver, and try to do it with the tools that you have, right?
Right,
That way you reduce risks of high stocks on products that you hardly ever use. Um,
right.
I'm coming to an end of the conversation, Charif, already. What I think that when I look at what we're experiencing as One to Taste is quite similar as you're describing, right? So we see that the online B2B buyer is starting to behave like a B2C buyer. We call that customization of the B2B buyer, because they also want their goods just like shipping tomorrow. And so short lead times is definitely something that can be a factor that is distinguishing you from others. And I think it's very important also for your customers in terms of cash flow management and all those kind of things, right?
No,
Um,
absolutely.
and we do also see that when we supply partly from our own warehouse, and we supply from third parties like yours, that people are constantly aware of the complexity that is there in supplying, and it's also about management of customers in the terms of making them aware of the lead times in time. And an on time in full performance of 96%, as you were saying, is pretty amazing. So well done to you and the team.
Yes,
But
thank you, Jasper.
I hope to invite you to another podcast sometime. But it was great to have you today.
Perfect. Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine, and thank you again for the invite, Jasper.
Availability is crucial for the product development of innovative products. And when scaling up a product launch, flexibility in order quantity is required. Launching a successful product demands fast response on supply. That means scaling up volumes and maintaining short lead times. This was One to Taste Talks Food Ingredients. If you want to know more, please check our website